This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav series, AIR News exclusive interview with Prashant Kumar Singh, CEO, Government, E-Marketplace, GEM on reforms in public procurement. Interviewer is AIR correspondent Arjun J. Chaudhary.
Prashantji, what has been the cost-benefit transparencies and efficiencies to the exchequer and eligible businesses by setting up of this national public procurement portal for goods and services?
As you know, GEM is a technology-led platform which offers an end-to-end cashless, contactless and paperless procurement system, procurement journey in goods and services for sellers on one side and government buyers on the other. The platform has completely eliminated human interface in vendor registration, order placement and payment processing to a great extent. Being an open platform, GEM offers no entry barriers to bona fide suppliers who wish to do business with the government, and a range of features driven by analytics, digitization and use of technology enable openness and complete transparency. All relevant information that is required for decision making by buyers and for participation by sellers is easily accessible. We've been able to drive process efficiencies, information sharing, faster procurement cycles and a higher level of trust among all stakeholders. So buyers benefit on the one hand from a diverse and rich range of products and services at competitive prices with assured quality. Sellers again benefit from an easy, transparent and efficient procurement journey, shorter payment cycles and much more. The government and taxpayers benefit because we can drive more efficient and high quality public procurement and create substantial savings in procurement as well.
Mr. Prashant, that the government e-marketplace Sahi app has been launched to facilitate the working capital requirements of those impaneled buyers who are short of funds and they require it even for future bidding and being empaneled on your portal. What is that app about? Do tell our listeners.
Just to give you a small background, on the GEM portal we have close to 20 lakh sellers. We achieved about a month back and 7 lakh out of them are MSME sellers. Now the problem faced by particularly the micro segment of the MSME is that they are short on working capital. I mean, suppose somebody makes a good product and is given an order of say 10 lakh rupees. Now he has capital of maybe 7-8 lakh rupees, so his entire capital gets invested into that order. So till the time he fulfills that order, he can't even think of another order. So we kind of had a feedback, we had stakeholder discussions, and then we came up with this online facility, an app that we developed called GEM Sahi, wherein there is no requirement of any collateral. The person, the moment he gets an order from GEM for a certain amount, if he wants to get a loan, he can upload that onto GEM Sahi and immediately the banks linked to the GEM Sahi app, we have about 5-6 of them right now and we intend to take that to a much larger number. The banks immediately online the quote will be given that for so much days at so much interest rate I am willing to give you a loan. The seller is at liberty to pick up any of the loan offers which is most conducive for him and go ahead and take it. And within minutes the loan amount gets deposited in his bank account. Now what happens later is that there's a lien on it and the moment the payment is made by the buyer, the amount due to the bank automatically goes to the bank and the remaining comes to the seller. So you give him much more flexibility, you give him much more security and it's a win-win for all of us.
So the settlement of transactions ensures the repayment on the part of the borrower to the impaneled bank as well. So all of this is done electronically.
Absolutely. Totally contactless, paperless, and there is no contact at all between the buyer and seller or the lender and the loan taker.
Do tell us something about the auction process in which bids are submitted, and as you said that it's paperless and there is no human intervention. On what parameters does the portal select a successful bidder?
We have different ways of selecting the successful bidder. The first one is just a marketplace where up to 25,000 you just visit the marketplace, pick up the product and buy. The second is when you go for an L1 kind of a thing, what we have in the normal course of procurement. Here you give your specifications, you float a bid. Automatically, depending on the category, the bid is given to the different sellers who are hooked onto the platform. They see the thing, they bid and the L1 can be picked up. For bids more than 5 lakhs, there is a requirement of a reverse auction. Now how does a reverse auction work? Suppose I bid out a particular requirement and 10 people give me different bids. The system will do is that they'll pick up the 5 lowest ones and say that look, all 5 of you are among the top lowest 5 and would you want to improve upon your offer? You have say about 24 hours and then people can see who is coming down even low. So you squeeze in and you arrive at prices which are sometimes unimaginable through a normal course of procurement. So that is the inherent saving that and efficiency that the platform provides.
So that is on the price front, which is on the payment side. What about the delivery? How is the goods ensured to be of quality control so that there is no breach of contract, there is no dispute between the parties at a later date?
The first thing is that when we do the onboarding itself, we do a plethora of quality checks. We have Quality Council of India in place. So they'll go through the manufacturing process, the product, what exactly are you going to trade in the marketplace, and depending on that, the seller is onboarded. Now suppose there is a dispute. In case once you get the supplies, you feel that there is certain mismatch between what you had ordered, there is a mechanism for incident management as well. I mean, you can escalate the incident, we can have clarifications, we have even provisions for penalizing people on both buyers and seller side, and we have also developed a very healthy competition in the sense that we rate suppliers and buyers. If you are a supplier and you go on defaulting in say 5-6 orders, your rating comes down. And to the buyers, we have given a filter that suppose when he goes to the marketplace, he gets 20 sellers. He can filter them out based on the rating that, okay, I need only people who are above 4.5 rating. So there is an incentive not to play around. And essentially, I would say that this is a trust-based platform where we try and do the checks, but we also rely upon the genuineness and the good faith of the buyers and sellers both.
Mr. Prashant, do tell us something about the portal when it was launched. And what were the challenges of the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, when they launched it?
It's always difficult to usher in a new system, and especially one wherein you remove all discretion. There is no bias involved here. There is no chance of any kind of a malpractice here. There is no chance of any kind of inefficiencies being built around it. It's something which is same for all. Same parameters apply. Now what we do when we design the portal is we take in all the government rules. It flows from the GFR, whatever instructions are there from the Department of Expenditure, Department of DPIIT, for example. So whatever the latest government instructions, we incorporate that. And then it's a common platform for all. So the first thing is to get people onboarded, because what has happened is there have been bigger departments also which have developed their own systems. They have their own ERP systems there, which has been working very fine, which is also, e-enabled. So people find it difficult to adapt to a different environment. But then what we are claiming is that when everybody comes on board, you get advantage of economies of scale as well. There is a different ballgame altogether. Sometimes when you operate in a silo, you have a fixed set of sellers who repeatedly get the orders. Through this mechanism, it's all gone. So initially, yes, there were challenges in implementing it in the proper way. There were issues coming up from different quarters. But gradually over the last 5 years, we have tried to, most of these things. And today I can say with pride that we are actually reaping the benefits of the efforts made over the last 5 years.
So you have MSMEs and SMEs who aspire to be on the panel of these kind of procurements. How do they apply, or for that matter, how does a startup get into this empanelment so that they can take advantage of the portal?
First and foremost, let me clarify through means of AIR is that we don't charge anything for getting onboarded. So if you feel that there is a scope for doing business with the government, you just come and get onboarded. This is a very simple online user-friendly way of onboarding. Once you do that, we do a certain level of check as to what you are saying is correct or not. We have achieved integration with Aadhaar, with PAN, with several other government databases, MCA database, wherein we can, automatically online validate your credentials. So once that is done, we even go through your manufacturing, whether you are a reseller or you are an OEM or you are into some other business. We also go into aspects like where is your ownership based. It should not be in a country where, government is trying to restrict trade from. We also look at various factors like what is your Make in India component, whether you are in the 20% bracket or in the 50% bracket, because these are all government policies which are being implemented through GEM online. So at the initial stage only we validate that. And once you do that, it's a seamless journey thereafter. For the startups, there is a separate startup portal also, wherein we register startups, give them exposure. And I'm happy to say that we have close to 10,000 startups hooked onto GEM. There is also another step to it. We have something called a startup runway, wherein you may develop a product which is unique. If it's a unique product coming out of the marketplace, we register them in the startup runway, so that in case a buyer sees that this is of utility to him, he can immediately go ahead and even procure it as a single tender after doing some rate validations. So that facility is there.
Do explain to us the IT infrastructure of the National Public Procurement Portal, because based on the volume of transactions, the traffic involved, how does the system handle it?
You see, we have a managed service provider and a cloud service provider. Now, it all depends how much transactions. Sometimes, must be hearing that if the data load increases, the system becomes slow. So we are increasingly moving towards a scalable system. For example, in the cloud, There should be auto-scaling. There should be hyper-scaling, in fact. Because the kind of analytics we do, the kind of data we handle, it requires a huge amount of server space. So we are increasingly moving towards a hyper-scalability model. Currently, we are on the GCC, wherein our requirements are perfectly met. We have a system which operates on language uses MySQL, which again is a very common database management system, and it is meeting all our requirements. But then there are challenges because more and more we are trying to make informed decision making. When you go on the portal, you should be given prompts, you should be given information, so you can plan your procurement accordingly. These are all based on artificial intelligence, machine learning. So the moment you deploy these things, and we are sitting on a mine of data, and then if you do analytics on it and then come up with solutions as a predictive analysis, that requires a huge amount of server space at times. So even if there are no transactions, but to generate that kind of data itself requires a very robust system, which I am very proud that we have it in place. And second most important part is the security. When we are handling government procurements, there is no way that our systems can be compromised. So we are very serious about our security aspects. We do a daily check of the latest developments, what kind of phishing attacks are common. We have a consultant who keeps on advising us. The advisory goes to the MSP, it is implemented. Sometimes there's a lag, but then most of the time we try and make it a very, very robust system. And it will go on improving as we progress.
So if we look at the government, and government is at multiple levels. You have the center, you have the state governments, and then you have the local governments. So do they all procure through this portal, or is it just center specific?
You see, the mandatory part is in the center. But yes, as we have progressed, the state governments have become an equal stakeholders because they do realize the benefit of procuring through GEM. There are governments which are more forward. There are certain governments which are still laggard. We are trying to pull them up. But the mandatory aspect applies to the central government. So while central government share is going on increasing, the central public sector undertakings also are increasing in a big way. We are now focusing on the state governments. They also come on board. And the benefits are for all to see. I'll tell you the GMB figures. When we started, we were in less than 10,000 crores per annum. We moved on to 15,000, 19,000. Last year was 38,000. Now this year, I will not be surprised if we cross the 1 lakh crore mark also.
Government's ability to bring down expenditure is a major factor. Revenue is always a challenge, but keeping down expenses is always a major challenge. How do you see this portal actually impacting not only central government's expenditures, but also state government expenditures? Is there any data to support this?
Without going into the issues like time value of money, faster transactions, better payments, these are all qualitative aspects. To give you a quantitative view, we got a study done through the World Bank. And what they came up with is that on an average, they looked at more than 1.6 lakh transactions. And they said that about 9.75 from the median price is what you actually save when you procure through GEM. The saving margin can even go up to 50% in cases. So, there is definitely a positive. If you go by the 9.75 benchmark itself, over a cumulative procurement of 1 lakh crore, we have ended up saving almost 10,000 crore for the government. And that can be a yearly feature if the procurement figures go up to 1 lakh plus every year.
But in terms of financing, you spoke about GEM Sahi, and you have listed banks who provide a quote. How do you expect that empanelment to increase? Because the main complaint of MSMEs or SMEs is financing. So how do you meet that challenge, and is that a challenge for you to meet?
This is the exact thing we are right now engaged in. We want to leverage the fintech that we have, the advancements we have made in the fintech sector to address this specific problem. GEM Sahi is one small aspect of it. For example, people who are transacting onto GEM, they can get a loan against their firm supply order. But there's a larger issue of providing loans to the MSME sector. Now, what we are currently planning is maybe now that GEM has taken off, we can have some kind of a mechanism wherein we can bring in the banks, we can bring in NBFCs, even a normal lender through certain regulation, through certain mechanism, through common set of guidelines with checks and balances to cater to the requirement of the sector. How it will be done, what kind of collateral will be viewed, that will depend on the ingenuity, the solution offered by the fintech companies. But yes, we are seized of the matter, and very soon we will bring out this functionality as well.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Prashant Kumar Singh, for being with us on All India Radio and giving us such a detailed view of what's happening with the National Public Procurement.
Thanks a lot.
You were listening to Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav series, AIR News exclusive interview with Prashant Kumar Singh, CEO, Government, E-Marketplace, GEM on reforms in public procurement. Interviewer was AIR correspondent Arjun J. Chaudhary. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio.